It was not that long ago that we saw Cardano's ADA at 23 cents, and since then we've seen a 92% surge to the upside. Now things are starting to turn, and this could be really interesting and a fantastic opportunity for Cardano and accumulation of ADA. So in this video we're going to be talking about a few different things. We're going to be talking about some fantastic, massive news for Cardano, and of course the price action of ADA and where I think things are going. As I get into the video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, staying up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us in Discord, keep your finger on the pulse of crypto by joining us down there, linked in the description below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and it's the first place that we go to notify you of everything that's going on in the crypto space. So why not check it out? Let's jump right down into this one. So following the previous video where we're calling for lows, we can see that there is a move to the downside that's obviously unfolded. We'll add another line in here for our next video, and I'll just add an arrow and we'll add the thumbnail at some point in the future. Okay, cool. So let's start things off by taking a look at the fantastic news of what's going on. So Cardano ADA launches the future of smart contracts with 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 in billion-dollar market. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So 𝗕𝗘𝗪 programming language makes it extremely easy for developers to set up smart contracts development on the Cardano blockchain. 𝗕𝗘𝗪's easy-to-learn programming language makes it easy for developers to get started with new projects on the Cardano blockchain. Now, believe it or not, no, Cardano is not a ghost chain. Yes, in fact, things have been building for quite some time on the Cardano ecosystem, and yes, it is a flourishing ecosystem at that. I'm not going to go through this entire article in detail with you guys. I will link this into the description down below, but I do think that it is fantastic news for the future of the Cardano blockchain, and I think this is going to seriously help really push further forward the development of the chain, with so many other players being able to finally move on here without having a huge and steep learning curve when it comes to programming languages. So keeping an eye on this one, I do think it's going to be fantastic and is going to really help the ecosystem just flourish with a lot more projects building, a lot more total value locked, and a lot more reasons to see the supply of ADA shrink and thus create an imbalance in the supply and demand metrics. Let's move over into price action though, because some interesting things are unfolding here. So here we have the daily chart. This is a good place to kind of start, because we are seeing a little bit of a pullback, right? And this is something that was kind of expected. It's nothing too unusual. So far, we're down 14.79%, and we're finding ourselves just crossing below the 200 EMA. Okay, so at the moment, our 200 EMA on the daily chart is at 39.86. Okay, so being closing below 39.86 would be a bearish signal, and we should be aware that that could be deemed a necessary move for ADA, and we might see a bit of a push further down. Now, our 50 EMA is at 38.65, just below that. If that turns into support, that could be an interesting thing to keep an eye on as well. Now, we did complete a, let me just tidy this up, an ABC structure right here. It came pretty much on the 1-to-1 ratio, and we can see that we got rejected from there. Okay, now it is still possible that we have a slightly higher move, but being all said and done, it's unlikely considering our reversal at the moment. Not impossible, and so we'll keep an eye on it. It's still, very possible that we do rally up when we hit that C wave high, but at the moment it looks like our minimums have been met, our sub wave counts are done, and we actually are now in a corrective structure. Now, this correction could just be a short one, and then we just rally on up again and we take out that higher target. That's possible. So it's all to play for here. But I do think there's still a little bit more room to the downside. And if we do lose these EMAs, chances are we do have to move down a tad further. Now, if I jump this down into our hourly, you can really see how we hit our higher target range. This was basically 43.78 to 46.58. This is exactly the 1-to-1 to the 1.236 on those fib levels, so nothing unusual or scary there. We can, of course, acknowledge that 52.42 would be the higher C-wave target range, but obviously we haven't hit any of those. Now, when we take a look at the sub-counts of what's going on down here, we do have some interesting developments within there. At the moment, I think do see a bit of a zigzag pattern playing out and a requirement to come down a little bit deeper. We can see that right in here with my expectations of being more towards that 1.236 to 1.618. So if I draw a yellow box on there, we can kind of get a good range on that. 38.52 to 39.02. That there would be where I would expect us to kind of finally finish that one off. Let me show you what that looks like. So in here, we'd have our 5-wave structure. Okay, and this can be a couple of things. I said a zigzag pattern, but that probably might not be the best way of looking at it, because this could be an extension in our 5th wave, because we do have a 1, 2, 3, up for 4, all of that could be a 5th. And if that is the case, then that does mean that we potentially have a diagonal and a potential move down here that hits our impulsive trigger points. Let's show this on here as well. Just hitting that 1.618, and therefore we could argue that we do have ourselves a bit of a situation unfolding. We would have a diagonal in here, and it would be an interesting one actually. Let me just see if I can get some trend lines on there. So if I show that on, we'd have that one, and if I bring this one up here, we would have that, yeah, as a little bit of an expanding diagonal. That's interesting. So I was just looking at this thinking where I'd place the wave counts, and I think we'd have to kind of go in with a diagonal structure that would look like this and that. Basically, a expanding diagonal structure. Wave 3 can't be the shortest, and wave 5 has to be the longest. There's no requirements for our 1.618 or anything like that. So wave 3 is longer than wave 1, and we can have overlap with wave 1 and wave 4. And yeah, so for the most part, it looks like that. And if that's the case, then we actually end up with ourselves with a pretty bearish situation here for ADA, where we'd see this potential play. We do rally up, of course, and then come down. So if this is what to happen, then we will be looking at ourselves moving down in a pretty significant way for Cardano, and you would see that starting to be a bit of a move. Now, that's obviously on the micro time frame stuff. On the daily, we can only really see that as a move of breaking those EMAs, and I think that's really where that's going at the moment. Now, from a smart money concepts on the smaller time frames, you can really see that we are yet to kind of break structure into a bearish situation, so we'll keep a close eye on that. It's possible that it does happen if we start moving down too much lower. At the moment, we've got a strong low we haven't yet tested. Lose that, and I think we're going to be in an interesting situation. Now, if I bring this up to our daily, in here, you can see that still higher expectation was there, but at the moment, we are still testing those EMAs. We're looking for the buys. The buys are a little bit lower, and we can see those right in there. So we are talking about 31 cent to 35 cent. And for the most part, that seems to be where things could potentially be heading. Now, if I come on over into our weekly time frame, you can see that we are looking rejected on those EMAs, the 200 and the 50. So we can see that as our rejection point, so natural point for reversal here as well. So keeping a close eye on it, but everything here for ADA is actually coming up reasonably well. It's a fantastic opportunity for DCA, and it is still possible that we do move down a little bit more. But overall, I'm pretty happy with thinking about the price action of Cardano just correcting down left hand. Nothing too major. I do think that 23 cent has a pretty strong possibility of holding for us, but if we were to lose that, then it's all fair play to move down more towards the 15 cent ranges. Ultimately, though, I do think we got some fantastic news and things that are going on in the space. Everything through Cardano's smart contracts with the kin. I think that's going to be fantastic. That's going to really help push the development of the Cardano blockchain. We see some fantastic developments happening on the daily and, of course, on the smaller timeframes as well. That gives us huge opportunity for dollar cost averaging into Cardano and secure a bigger position before we actually get a real good surge to the upside. So ultimately, everything's looking pretty good here. Natural, healthy corrections in places and some fantastic news and developments on the Cardano blockchain. Let me know what your thoughts are on everything that's going on with Cardano, and let me know if you are as heavy into Cardano's ADA as I am as well. I'm going to wrap this video up right there. If you found it useful and informative, smash that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we go do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
We are not financial advisors, and none of what we have communicated verbally or in writing here should be considered as financial advice. It is not. Do your own research before investing in any digital asset or affiliate offers, and understand that investing in any crypto is risky. If you do, you need to be prepared to lose your entire investment. This video is for information and entertainment purposes only. All our videos are strictly personal opinions. Please make sure you do your own research and never take our opinions for financial guidance. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. Our videos are not financial advice.